Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be kind of my final summary of the 2014 Out of the Basement tournament. Really covering how I did, what I thought of my list, what I thought of the tournament, and just everything in general. So, first of all, what was my goal going into this? Well, I wanted to do well, and I basically wanted to win more than I lose. And I really did that. I won 3 out of 4 games, and the only game I lost was to the guy that won the entire tournament. So, no shame there. Went very well as that part went. I don't really know how I did for sportsmanship or anything like that, but I assume I'm pretty good for sportsmanship. I had fun in all my games, and then for painting, probably not that great. I mean, I gotta admit, my night goblins are painted to a done standard, so they're nothing spectacular or anything like that. But either way, 3 out of 4 wins, and all those 3 wins being massacre wins, definitely a good showing for the goblins. Now, as far as the actual list goes, let's kind of break that down. My general, I took the orc with basically a fireball ring and a shield. And really, other than some regrets that I didn't go all goblin just for the theme, he did his part, right? This the way that I get in leadership 8, which will go to leadership 9 with the banner. The fireball ring, it's 25 points, right? It's not a big investment, but hey, in the one game, it was able to go and kill the spirit host, and in other games, just pick away things. It's nothing fancy. It's not like having warlocks in your army, but hey, for 25 points, it's hard to go wrong. And at least I'm participating in the rest of it. Past that, next thing I had my BSB with the Banner of Discipline, and what can I say? It's cheap. The biggest issue with my army is leadership. It's the way to go. Then I start getting to the big hordes. The first one being 100 night goblins with spears. This is something that I used to take a lot when 8th first came out, but then I moved away from it. 2 reasons. One of them being that the meta changed, and that all of a sudden people are taking the dwellers all the time, and they really start going with the bigger monsters and monstrous infantry. They were just smashing these guys really bad. And now the meta's changed so that you see a lot more toughness 3 with all the elves around. So they're really doing a lot better. One thing that's actually kind of funny is all the people that were coming by and saying, wow, look at that block of 100 night goblins. That's crazy. I love it. And when meanwhile, I was like, well, I took this out like 2 years ago and I stopped taking it because people hated it. Like, I don't know. But the other thing, too, is the reason why I had stopped taking it before is simply because it takes so long to set all these guys up. Man, I mean, especially if you're in a game where the majority of the unit died, it takes so long to put those 100 guys back on the train. Now, I might as well join this in with the other unit of 70 goblins and talking about the difference between going spears or bows. I think in this meta, it is really good to go with the bows. There's a lot of fast cav running around. Plus, there is a lot of things with no armor. So, it really can be a very strong way to go. And hey, if nothing else, if you're up against a demon prince, you can shoot him with bows and strip off that charm shield, right? So it really is a nice way to go. I mean, the extra 10 attacks from having the spears is nice, but I think in this meta, normally, the bows would do you well. But really, if you take spears, I'm not going to call you crazy. It's always nice to have that 6+ save because, hey, once you reduce their strength by 1 with the nets, taking those 6+ saves can actually help you stay in there, right? So otherwise, I really like that part. The bunker of 20 with hand weapon shield. Maybe they could have gone with the short bows. That's normally what I do for a bunker. But in this case, I just didn't because I can't find all my night goblins. But as for the choice of sword and board versus having the, something else, it's a bunker. As long as it survives, that's the main thing. And when you're down to 20 models, it's not going to change much either way. Even if you take bows, you normally don't take any shots unless something's broken through to your backfield. Now, something that I can talk about my core is the whole idea where I didn't take any fanatics. Actually, what I did do is I brought 5 fanatics with me to trick people, but nobody fell for it. Absolutely nobody. Everybody knows me and my tricks by now, and you know, they don't even bother asking. They know I'm not a guy that already takes fanatics, or maybe I take one in my bunker. Now, looking at it though, with all the different fast cav and stuff that I was running around, I think I could have done very well putting some fanatics in there. Now, of course, it's not an option you can do for free. I'd have to take something out. Basically, I'm losing 9 night goblins for every one I want to put in there. But it might have been worth to have at least a couple in there because hey, fast cab or shades, you want to run around me? Boom, fanatic to the face, right? So that could have been a nice thing to have in there, but yeah, whatever. I was talking with somebody that maybe at some point I should just surprise everyone and just take all the fanatics and go crazy. The next thing on my list I can talk about is, I guess I should finish off my heroes. I had the 2 heroes, the Balorian pattern, as some people used to call them, where it's just a Night Goblin with a great weapon. What can I say? They're always the cheap, very efficient way to go. They pump out at weapon skill 4, 3 strength, 6 attacks. Very great stuff. And if you ever want to attack them back, they're toughness 5 equivalent with the nets going on. So, damned if you do and damned if you don't, because if you don't attack them and kill them, they're going to whack you with those 3 strength 6 attacks. And if you do attack them, you're going to get less combat res. And then all of a sudden I might be beating you with my little night goblins, right? So they're very nice to have. I never did get to play the tricks with them where I was going to go out and bait with them. It just didn't really come up. I guess I could have used them in the demon game, but like we already talked about in that game, I kind of had given up hope and was just playing it out anyway. Now, past that, I can talk about my Squig Horde. You gotta love those guys. 8 points for weapon skill 4, 2 attacks, strength 5. They are amazing. Now, of course, they have the weakness where if people start shooting against them, they explode. But like I talked about in that battle report, people just don't play them a lot, so they just don't know how to handle them. And meanwhile, all the stuff that they're fighting, they're perfect for, right? If these units of executioners or whatever want to come after them, we will just shoot them up, no problem. Now, they're not great against witch elves because the witch elves will really cut them down quickly. But hey, they'll still do a good pounding going back as well. So you really got to be careful with that. And if nothing else, hey, if I faced against witch elves in this and they were one of the serious larger units, I just then would have redirected them to the side and flanked them. So anyway, there you have that. Next part, I have my war machines. Definitely no regrets taking anything there. The Doom Divers did great. The Rock Lobbas did their part. And good times all around. So really just comes down to then the guy on the cave squig, and even he did his job. In the last game there, he could have even done even more if he could have killed the shades, but I didn't know they had great weapons, so oops, right? That just kind of happens. So overall, I'm very happy with the list. I was really worried walking in that playing on a 4x4 board with a building in the middle for all of them was going to cause a lot of problems. And to be honest, it did cause some. There was the one game where I had to deploy in the woods. There was times where I had to be very careful how I moved and did not just walk up to the tower and be in the way. But it wasn't that bad. I was talking about with some of the guys there that the other way of going is just going with little blocks of 50, but I'm thinking that might not have been enough. You saw in some of those combats, especially after I got hit with a spell or something, I ended the game with, say, 25 of them or 20, and if I was to go with the smaller units, I just would have given up all those points. So I still do really like the large size. Does it have to be 100? Of course not. Whether you want to go 90, 80, 70, of course the larger you go, the safer you are, but definitely a very valid unit. Going past that and talking about the actual tournament, as far as the 4x4 goes, I was really kind of surprised by it when I first heard about it. Then I reasoned it out. Like I said in the intro, we're sure the way they're running the tournament, they want to save some space. And because it's a smaller game, why not have a smaller board? Now, I guess some of the guys from another one of the metas really had a big problem with it. And the thing is with this argument is you really have two sides to it. The one side of the argument is if you don't play on a 6x4 board, then all of a sudden the armies that like going around and using their mobility are at a disadvantage. And the armies that are all about line up, walk up, and crush face are at the advantage. The counter to that argument is basically just the reverse. If they would have stayed with a 6x4, the fast cav mobile armies would have had a very big advantage, whereas the combat armies would have been at a more disadvantage, right? So you can't really win. I mean, what else do you go with? I mean, do you go to a 5x4 board? Maybe there's a happy medium there that would make everybody happy. I don't know. But either way, I didn't really have a problem with it. Next year, if it's 6x4, cool. If it's 4x4, also cool. Definitely I'll be giving more thought to knowing that there'll be a building in the middle of every board if there is Watchtower. But yeah, I mean, I really thought that was fine. The way that the tournament was run, everything was going at a good speed. I thought it was a fair amount of terrain. Clearly, you could always have more, but I mean, especially when you're going to have that dominating tower in the middle of every board, you don't want to go too crazy with everything else. On that note, they were actually a little bit short, and I had to bring a few extra towers because I was happy to see that this was their largest tournament so far for attendance for fantasy. All these people are talking about like, oh, fantasy's in trouble, fantasy's going down. No, man. I mean, at least around here, fantasy's getting bigger and bigger. So really happy to see that. Really excited. Hearing from the tournament organizers, I guess next year they're looking to going to a 3-day tournament. So really looking forward to that. That could be a ton of fun. But also something that you guys will be very interested to know is that I basically got a free army out of this too. Because with their draws and stuff like that, first of all, I got a $25 gift card to a local store, Thunderground, so that's awesome. And then I also won a starter set that's worth like $100. So that's also very good because during one of the evening events, they had kind of like the tables where people could set them up and they could sell bits and armies and stuff. And somebody I know was there selling a Orc and Goblin army. Now, I didn't really need a lot of actually it was a Goblin army, and I really don't really need more Night Goblins. I have lots. I have tons of arm painted. But the one thing that was there that I really liked was all the squigs. There was 45 squigs, and then also tons of other stuff. Say like squig hoppers, also Skarsnik, and all this other stuff that I didn't have, and it'd be nice to have more of. So I picked that up for $100, which was probably, I mean, man, if you buy those squigs now, they're so freaking expensive. So that was a hell of a deal. Part of it in there too also had 6 trolls or 7-ish that I sold for $20. So I basically got that whole thing for 80. So man, I mean, I scored pretty good here, and I can't wait till I get these guys ready and I can run the double squig horde because, like I said, those guys are amazing. And it's one of those units where you can just throw them on the flank and you don't care because they're immune to psych, they can kick butt, and they just kind of rush up there and kill things. So especially when I get back to playing larger games, I'm looking forward to do that. Plus, given how long I've been playing, it's pretty amazing that as an Orc and Goblin player, I don't have Skarsnik. I know he's not as good as he used to be, but hey, he's just going to be fun to play with. So there you have it. A great fun tournament. A big thank you again to the tournament organizers. Really had a lot of fun. Did very well. And I hope you guys like watching the tournament. So if you guys have any comments on the tournament or my army list or the way that the games are played, please go and comment down below. And I'll do my best to comment in them. And I'll catch you later. Bye.